Hey folks, this is John O. Landon, the founder and CEO of Hubly. Um, we are the world's only completely hands-free enrollment marketing solution built specifically for private schools just like yours. Now, today I wanted to expand on something I spoke about in a previous video. Before I was talking about the difference between branding and lead generation marketing, those two different kinds of marketing strategies. And I wanted to get into a practical use case of what those mean or how those play out. So because whether you're doing a branding type of marketing or you're doing a more of a lead generation kind of marketing, you can use the same tools and platforms like Facebook. If you're doing a branding campaign, you might use Facebook one way. You might write an ad a certain way and have different kind of language and have a different goal if somebody clicks on the ad. Whereas if you're doing lead generation, you're going to use Facebook ads, right? But you're going to use them very differently because you're not trying to make maybe you're not trying to just grow awareness about your product or your brand. So like Coca-Cola might run a Facebook ad, but they want their ad to just be seen by as many people as possible because their customers aren't at a place where they're going to buy a Coke if they're on Facebook and looking on their phone or on their computer. They're just trying to get brand awareness and connect their company and their products with some type of external thing that they want you to feel or think about next time you're in a store looking to buy a drink or thirsty. So you buy a Coke. But that's not the way, let's say, a private school needs to market, because a private school would use the ad to actually get parents to book a tour, right? So that's your goal. Like the goal of your ads is to generate a lead or an inquiry, right? Or a tour booking. Like these are all interchangeable for a private school. So so what do you do with a website, right? So we're talking about ads, right? And when people click on an ad, they usually go to a web page. And so again, if you're doing lead generation marketing, if you need to get a parent to eventually show up to your school for a tour, what you do with that web page is going to be really different than, another kind of business, like let's say an e-commerce store where it's a business that sells $20 necklaces or something, right? So if people click on an ad, that takes them to a web page for the e-commerce store, and it's an ad about necklaces, and they click on it and they go to a web page and they're like, oh my God, that's beautiful, and they click buy, right? And then the purchasing decision is completed on that e-commerce web page. Now, your customers as a private school, your prospective parents, they're not going to be making a purchasing decision on your website because they can't, right? Because it's not a $20 necklace small purchase decision. This is a huge decision, right? Where they're going to enroll their child for the future, right, of their children is a huge decision. It's up there. The analogy I always use, it's like dating for marriage, right? Like in the realm of huge decisions that people make in their lives, who am I going to marry? Where am I going to live? What am I going to do for a career? What school am I going to put my kids into? It's in that bucket of like major decisions that have a lot of times very big financial impacts and also big implications for the future of, in this case, of the children, right? So the goal of that web page, so if you're running an ad, somebody clicks on that ad, it takes them to a web page. That web page is not there to sell your school, because that your parent is not psychologically ready to make a buying decision, right? And marketing is really just a process of building trust with people until they're ready to make a buying decision, if they're the right people, right? And obviously building trust the right way helps them identify if this is a good fit, if you're good for them, if they're good for you. So the way your parents make a buying decision is not by looking at a website, because this isn't like a $20 necklace. So the way you would design a website for an e-commerce store like that to sell a $20 necklace, you would design it and use that web page in very different ways than you would if you're trying to get a parent to ultimately schedule a tour and show up for that tour. So those are really two different goals, right? Because your parents need to just get to the next stage of the decision-making process, which is coming in. So they hit your website, then you need them to go from there to making a really big commitment. Actually, for a parent at that stage, it's a lot of commitment at that stage just to schedule a tour, right? So you have to be very careful with that website. And something about marketing and communications during a marketing process is that whenever you're communicating with a prospective customer, whether you're Coca-Cola selling a $1 drink, or you're selling a $50 necklace, or you're a school, right, essentially trying to sell, let's say on average, a $10,000 annual tuition. So anytime, every word of communication is either helping you or hurting you. Okay, it's never neutral. Your web page, your ads and your web pages, they're never neutral. They're either hurting you, they're either helping you or hurting you. So because your prospective customer is making a massive decision that they cannot make from just clicking on an ad and landing on a website, there's no way that they can make that decision. If you're communicating decision-making information that's specific to finalizing a decision, that is not helping you. That's actually pushing more people away than it is bringing them in to booking a tour. You have to be incredibly laser focused every stage of your customer's buying journey. Wherever they are at each stage of the buying journey, you have to communicate with them exactly how they need to be communicated at that stage to get to the next stage, right? So, and that's going to be something different for every stage of the process. So the way you communicate on an ad is going to be different than how you communicate on a landing page, on a web page, and then the way you communicate in maybe on the phone or in the actual tour when they book the tour is going to be different as well. They need different things at the different stages. And what they need when they come to your website, when they click on the ad, they see an ad, and of course, I just want to take a step back and say we're not talking about parents that know who you are or come from a word of mouth referral. You don't have to worry about those people. They're coming, right? They're 90% sold on your school. We're talking about parents that don't know who you are. The much larger majority of parents in your area that are a good fit, but they don't know who you are. So that's who we're talking about here, right? That's who your website is for, because they're not coming from a word of mouth referral. If they're coming from a word of mouth referral, they don't need your website to know that they want to book a tour, right? So somebody that doesn't know you, actually, that's who your website is for. So you have to make sure your website is designed for the right person, number one, and it's giving them just the right information that they need to be interested to learn more about your school and how to do that, like what your process is, how to book a tour. It has to, and there should be nothing else on that website except for enough information to make them want to learn more and incentivize them to get to the next stage where they can actually get the information they need at that stage, because there's information that they can only learn from being in your school in person, and that information they cannot learn it properly from your website. So if you have to think about what information can they only learn from being in my school, right? What information do they need to make a decision, right? And where do they have to be psychologically to actually consider that information correctly? So one of the best examples of holding information back is your tuition. your tuition numbers, and I get some pushback about this because some people think you should shove the tuition in people's faces on your website, and that is absolutely dead wrong. And it's because there's no way that somebody can look at like a tuition of $10,000 or $20,000 a year and actually consider its value, if it's worth it, by your website, because they need to actually come in and see the school. They have to meet you, they have to meet the leadership, they have to see the kids in the environment and see all that stuff, and then they can properly assess at that point if this tuition is worth it, right? Because and I talked about this in a previous video, just because they're price shopping doesn't mean that they're the wrong people. They just think they should be price shopping when they shouldn't be, right? Because people don't know how to make this decision because they don't go around picking schools every day. It's like something you do very seldomly. So hopefully, so you want to get the parents to the right position so that they can get the right information at the right time. And so this is why we need lead generation strategies, which just helps. You have to pull and help the parent go from the point of an ad to getting to a web page, and then from there scheduling a tour and showing up for a tour. And there's going to be emails in between and phone calls and things like that, text messages. Ultimately, you want to automate that stuff as much as possible because it should be really standardized and consistent. So that's just a bit of some insight into why you want to be careful about how you use your website or a landing page, because you're not an e-commerce store selling a $20 necklace, and you're not Coca-Cola just trying to get brand awareness. That's totally useless for a school. So that would be really misusing, right? For a school to be spending money on doing branding campaigns is a absolute waste of time and money, and it's really holding you back from getting the right parents to actually figure out if they want to learn about you and how to come in and book a tour, which is how your customers make a buying decision. They have to come in for a tour. So all of your marketing, 100% of it, has to be based off getting that parent to that point in the tour. And your web page and your website and your ads are all just there to help them get through those steps. I hope that helps. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below. If you think I'm wrong, I want to hear about that too. If you've had other experiences, or if you heard people say other things, let me know. Let's talk about it. Let's see if I can be proven wrong, because I love learning. So I hope this is helpful, and let's let the discussion begin. Talk to you real soon.